Do you have an old charcuterie board that has seen better days? Kind of like these? In this video, I'll show you how I made these grungy boards go from this to this. First things first, we gotta get these guys cleaned up, so I headed over to the planer to plane the tops and the bottom smooth. If you don't have access to a planer, don't worry, this can be done with a sander or by hand sanding it too. But let me tell you, having a planer is a game changer. So nice. These boards are from a commercial kitchen and were pretty soaked to the bone when I got them. So really the first step was to dry them out. And I just so happened to have a video on how I did that. I'll link that video down below and at the end if you haven't seen it already. After the tops and bottoms were planed down, I took them over to the belt sander to clean up the sides. Again, this can be done by hand too, it'll just take a little longer. By the way, if you're new here and like this video, consider subscribing, it helps me out a lot. Once all the sides were sanded down, I switched my focus to the cracks. There were quite a few of them and they were pretty grimy, so I decided the best course of action was to use a torch to burn out the gunk. Then I used an O-ring tool to scrape it out. And finally blow it out with air to give me a much better surface to work with. Then it's epoxy time. I taped off one side of the boards and brought the tape over the sides so the epoxy wouldn't spill out. For epoxy, I'm going to be using Aluminite Clear that I'm mixing in these really cool silicone measuring cups that I got off of Amazon. For some color, I'm adding a bronze mica powder that'll look good but also not detract from the wood at the same time. There were cracks on both sides of these boards, so once one side was finished, I flipped it over and repeated the process. I'll leave a link to all the products I use in the description below. Once I had the epoxy poured and all the cracks filled, I hit it with my heat gun to remove any bubbles. And I poured the extra epoxy that I had left over into a pen blank mold so I can save it for later. After the epoxy had cured on both sides, I took off the blue tape and ran them through the planer one more time to flatten the tops and bottoms one last time. And back to the belt sander to clean up any drips on the sides. Then I sprayed them down with water to raise the grain. And sanded them down smooth with an orbital sander. And I took these all the way to 400 grit. Finally, I applied some Howard's Butcher Block conditioner, let it soak for 30 minutes, and then buffed off the excess. And can you believe the difference? These boards look great now. You'd never guess how chewed up they were that they could be this pretty. I want to thank all my patrons that helped make this possible, including top tier patrons Steve Huber, Marion Ward, and Corey Wall. You guys rock. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this video was helpful to you. Take care.